Now, let me preface this video by saying that I have played other Bethesda games. Although I haven't played Fallout New Vegas yet, I have played The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim as well as Fallout 4. I praise Skyrim and Fallout 4 for having a wide array of skill sets that allows the player to develop their mindset, which lets them sort of ease into the path they so desire. The atmosphere and environment both capture the very essence of a fantastical world that shows great beings of old and hide abominations that wait to be awakened. Unless we're talking about the Dwemer Ruins, because fuck them. Vanilla not your thing? Spice up your gameplay with a wide selection of mods, each changing your in-game experience with either a subtle touch of atmosphere or a wild array of insanity to make even the most hardened players shudder. Certain mods, such as adjustment to textures and shaders, both blend a pleasantly new emotion to the game without detracting from the feeling that was intended by the original developers. Look at those shadows. Other mods may even change gameplay drastically for a more whimsical approach.
I'm gonna start beating the shit out of you in the next 5 seconds!
Mods that have insane equipment from another time, and even changing old models into new ones may bring a tear to one's eye. Whether or not it's joy or concern, I'm not the one to judge. What the fuck? Also, don't ask me what mods I'm using for Skyrim. 1, I'm not a mod review channel, and 2, I don't remember what they are. Continuing on with the video, since this is my first time playing Fallout New Vegas, I'll be playing it vanilla. No mods, no extra seasoning. It's usually how I play games whenever it's something new, so I can see what I'd like and dislike, then go from there. In this playthrough, I'll basically be skimming over what I did in my first run, and I doubt this needs to be said, but spoiler alert! I'm saying this as a precaution since there are a few special people out there looking for a reason to comment, "Come on man, I haven't played this game yet." And for the people who have played the game already or don't care about spoilers, well, I'll drop you right in, let's have some fun. Oh, and one more thing. I'll be giving everything nicknames based off of their names, their looks, or how they behave. It may get confusing to some, so don't blame me. Like all video games, I first needed to set up my game so it's optimized for maximum performance. I set up my game, restarted it, then finally hit on that sweet new game button. Once I pressed the button, I watched a dude's brains get blown out, where I then got the lowdown on New Vegas exposition. I learned that I was a cool mailman, but that coolness comes at a price, and I got shot in the fucking head.
Truth is, the game was rigged from the start.
Old man with a chrome dome helped me up from my Vietnam flashback, and I was able to remember who I was. That's right, I was world-renowned African-American Barack Osama. I decided that I was going to be perceptive and charismatic, but I was about as strong as a speed bump in the school zone. Once I was done adjusting my special, I raided Doc Mitchell's humble abode for anything he was keeping from me. Proceeding with the storyline, I sat down and gave my humble opinion on certain ideas. Then the doc showed me a bunch of Rorschach images, one of which ignited the inner 12-year-old in me. I continued raiding Doc Mitchell's house for anything useful, but I couldn't forget the yeast. The yeast is important in this run. And the doctor sent me on my way. Out of the door was a redneck robot that disturbed my grave, the bastard, and I learned some important information regarding ammo, which I promptly forgot. I met an old guy, and I met a tutorial who taught me how guns work in this wasteland. I swapped to iron sights thinking it would help me be more accurate, but then I realized an option isn't going to change my gun's accuracy, so I swapped back.
Fucking shit.
Tutorial told me geckos are on the chopping block, and I witnessed one of the most terrifying things New Vegas had to offer in terms of look. Geckos. During the quest, I was accepted into Goodsprings, even though I stole a few things beforehand, but I guess that doesn't matter. I continued the tutorial and went to the schoolhouse in order to retrieve some onions. Fuck it, why not? Except I wasn't actually supposed to go inside, and I got stuck at a terminal wondering how the fuck it worked. Once outside, I widened my Asian eyelids and I saw the onions, picked them up, and continued on my way. At the cemetery, there was 3 spooky 5 me whispering, so I grabbed what I needed and headed back to tutorial. She taught me how to make cocaine.
Healing powder, what the fuck?
and an argument broke out between the bartender and some punk ass.
What do you want?
The Obama and me settled the negotiation in a diplomatic way. After I was done at Good Springs, I ventured forth into the wastelands, changing my name to Barack Obama as I didn't see the use for explosives in this run. However, Osama's majestic beard lived on and influenced me as I had forgotten to shave.
But thanks for
Some
clearing
bitch
out
thought
the
he was
echoes.
slick and sending me
Now
up
I
a
can get
mountain
to
laced
that
with booby
stash up
traps,
there.
so I taught him a thing or two about police brutality. I put a gecko out of its misery and made my way to Prim, where an
Where the hell do
NCR
you think
trooper
you're
gave me a
going?
nice warning of the
Prim is
dangers
off
ahead.
limits.
I thanked him by teaching him about the
Convicts
safe
from
word being
prison.
police brutality, and had a few flashbacks here and there. I stole some ganger banger armor and I fast traveled back to Good Springs. Ringo saw my armor, which pissed him off, so I put his qualms to rest by putting some bullets in his chest. I returned back to Prim, but they didn't have a sheriff, so I had to save the deputy. With no sheriff in town, the Gecko Peckos shot the deputy.
Ah, fuck.
More Garfield porn stars told me they didn't like me, so I gifted them with a shower of bullets. And I taught an abomination what police brutality is. Really makes you wonder, if there is a god, he sure as hell doesn't bat an eye at the Mojave. Whilst on my adventures through the wastelands, I tended to contribute to the extinction of the wild buffalo, but hey, I don't hear their complaining. In the distance, I saw two giant statues exchanging flesh collisions and decided it would be a good idea to investigate further. There, I met an alcoholic who used to own cows. I called him Steve. I proceeded adventuring into the wastelands, where I saved the Thought's life from a creep. After I killed the creep, the Thought became hostile and started shooting at me. I shot her in self-defense, and I spared a minute to talk about our Lord and Savior's caps. Moving on, a grape raper named Oliver came to me and bragged about the lottery. It only took 2 shots from an M16 to save him from the rad scorpions out in the wasteland. Now it was this part where I met the Renaissance Fair, and although they do seem pretty innocent, I introduced them to the invention of gas-powered projectiles. They seemed to like it, for the most part. The trek was long and full of scorpions, and I mean a lot of scorpions. No, I mean a lot of scorpions. In the distance is when I spotted a fence, holding some very inconspicuous bunkers, which I ignored for the most part. I continued on my way and finally made my way to Novak. I got a lead on some new quests to do, and an old rocket museum was the place. I talked to a failed Ben 10 auditioner and proceeded to do his dirty work in his creepy basement. There, I saw some big buff smurfs who nearly butt-fucked me with their clubs, and another ghoul who also wanted me to do more dirty work. After completing the quests, they wanted to ascend, but they needed some equipment for some reason. I'm not sure why they need equipment to ascend, but whatever. While retrieving the items, I stumbled into Boone, who wanted to know who sold his wife into slavery. I ignored him, for now. Returning to the Repcon facility, I sniffed some glue to see what these Bible thumpers were thinking. That didn't work, and I was told to finally launch them into orbit. Before I hit the launch button, I saw a console nearby that told me I could change their flight paths, since they would crash if I didn't. I returned to this later, since my brain was the size of a pencil eraser. I returned back to Novak for some quests, and some folks need cow protection. I did that. I helped Boone What's New Scooby-Doo, his mystery, which turns out isn't a euphemism. Snooping around the motel, I found that the motel owner was a person who sold Boone's wife. They never make enough money, do they? She did a trademarked Jimmy Neutron brain blast, and I received payment for my good deeds. Now that I'm done with Novak, I moved forward, stumbling into Sloan, then more forward into a super mutant named Neil. He seemed nice enough, so I performed a coup d'etat on his Smurf boss, and got a cool ghoul companion named Raoul. He helped me with the overtake. In my attempt to reach the strip, the Renaissance Fair sent their regards with a few assassins, but nothing advanced technology can't fix, and Raoul's great. Looking for more loot and experience, I got hired by a nearby robot museum, but since I wasn't much in the way for being a robot, I was promoted to custom. Nice. I found Camp McCarran next, got a few bounties, convinced a rape victim to get the help they needed, and explored further. I discovered the Crimson Caravan Company, got an invoice, and delivered it to my chemistry teacher back at Camp McCarran. Son of a bitch, who gave me a quest to Vault 22. I swapped Raoul out for Steve, and I continued their questline for vengeance. Oh yeah, Steve also gave me a nice perk, so I can be an alcoholic as well, with no downsides. Oh, okay. Domestic terrorism is pretty common in the wasteland, and I've been investigating the culprit. Steve told me the ash piles near the wrecks were caused by energy weapons, while I looked into the more pressing matters. The criminals drank milk. I dubbed them the milk-drinking menace. Steve, however, thought it was the Crimson Caravan and the Van Graffs, whoever they are. I did some guard duty for the Van Graffs, and I thought I did pretty well. I stopped the terrorist attempt, but I got jack shit for it. Asking for a raise seemed like the next best thing. I died more times than I wanted to, but I got the job done. I got my raise in the form of loot, and headed towards Vault 22. The place was completely green, and I kept hearing whispers. I met a ghoul named Keely through legitimate means, and she had the same idea I had. That idea was to take a massive hit from the blunt that is known as Vault 22. I died more, but I finally came out on top. I found another vault as well, Vault 3, and I infiltrated the vault disguised as a delivery boy. Little did the boss know inside Vault 3 is that I had some diplomatic reasoning up my sleeve in order to usurp his throne. Man, it's just like Skyrim. For the rest of the Fiend leaders, I did what every good police officer does. That's by teaching the convict about good old-fashioned police brutality. What? Did you think I'd actually arrest them? This is America, you know. Now that I had enough levels, my brain was able to gain some mass and up went my science skill. That way, I was able to go back to the RepCon facility and prevent 9/11-2, electric boogaloo. Next, I finished Steve's business with the Crimson Caravan Company. This task was pretty easy with another well-placed trademarked Jimmy Neutron Brain Blast. From there, I went back to Freeside to see how I could help with the local businesses, starting with the Atomic Wrangler. James needed help finding specific employees for specific fetishes, so I did as he asked. I found a smooth talker, a ghoul, a male for male needs, and I reprogrammed the robot to be a sex robot. Tests had to be made before I sent it to James, which ended up with my ass being numb for about a week. I eventually got my pay, and I got another job, which was to extort a few people. When that was said and done, I made my way to the strip, where I hacked a Securitron to let me in. It was pretty boring talking to a house, so I made my way back to Freeside, where guess what? I got more jobs. I worked for a bit with Elvis Presley, where I settled a dispute between the Kings and the NCR. The local doctors told me to stop a chem dealer in order to help some of the local addicts, which I did, then promptly bought some chems off of him. Elvis's cyberdog needed a new brain, so he kindly gave me Rex as a new companion. An old lady kindly gave me her old dog's brain for a few caps, and I got the transplant done. The transplant was done at a town called Jacobstown, which allowed Rex to gain some more attack damage, which would be helpful along the way. There I also saw what the abomination called a Night Stalker looks like.
Oh, God.
And I continued on my way to clear out a nest full of them. Ugh. I ventured to Helios 1, got bent over by a game crash.
Well, that ain't good.
Finally restored the power plant's function, causing me to squint my Asian eyes. Ooh. I claimed my reward and killed one of the scientists as well. Not like he was contributing much. Venturing forth into the wasteland, I wanted to hunt some ants, but the Renaissance Fair still didn't like me. It was also here when I saw what people meant by fire ants. Oh, that's literal fire ants! Close to this area was Vault 11, so I deemed it a good idea to explore another relic lost to time. Inside, there were corpses strewn about, with mattresses everywhere. I learned that sacrifices had to be made in order for the vault to function.
Yeah. No, wait!
And I volunteered to be sacrificed. But the robots weren't too kind with my volunteering, and they were a bit messy with the ritual as well. So I did what any good human being does. I got a flashback from the other robot mess, and I went on a drug-induced killing spree against the robots. I learned after the robot massacre that the catch of the vault was that no one actually needed to be sacrificed.
The population of Vault 11 is not going to be exterminated for its disobedience.
In Westside, I got a job to expose 2 bitch asses, and I had sex with every person in the Casa Madrid before continuing. There are probably some things I regret there. Moving on, I also had to rescue Doug Dimmadome's son from some fancy cannibals. During the rescue operation, I helped the guy resolve his traumatic past.
I was 5, now I have to yell at people. Or because my mother was a deranged chem fiend who regularly brought strange men home who told me to call them uncle. Or because my sisters would lock me in a shipping crate when they didn't want me around. And my brother... God, I'd forgotten about that. How could they do that to me? I can't stay here. I need to be alone.
And I got the sun out of the freezer. Then my game crashed again. Then my game wouldn't load. and eventually I loaded a previous save and I got Doug Dimmadome his son back. I convinced him that only the owner, Mortimer, wanted to cannibalize his son. Fucking Mortimer. Next on the list was the Tops Casino, where Benny said, "What in the goddamn?" I thought it was wise to use my speech 100 to talk Benny into giving me the chip, but then I realized he was a snake-eyed bastard. I got rid of the ambush Benny sent out for my ass, and I killed everyone in the casino, which is when I stumbled into Yes Man. I got a few quests from Yes Man, and he seemed like a pretty alright guy, so he sent me on my way to meet some other clans in the Wasteland. First on the list was Great Khans. I tried to convince the big man of the Great Khans that going to the Renaissance Fair was a bad idea, but he wouldn't listen. There were 4 people I needed to help me. The first 3 people were easy to meet. However, the last one was in a Deathclaw nest out in a quarry beside Sloan. Safe to say, I died a lot in attempting to reach them. Changing my strategy from the Shredder method to the Pizza Rat method aided greatly in my attempts to reach the subordinate of the Great Khans. After the meeting, I was sick of the Deathclaws shit, so I put them on the extinction list right next to the Buffaloes. And, as it turns out, energy weapons are just better against Deathclaws than bullets. After that mess, I went to confront the Renaissance Fair, but quests kept me from murdering everybody. I met a house in a bunker, upgraded an army through the console, and after that, I was able to walk away scot-free with a platinum chip. Before I left the fair, though, Kaiser Wilhelm allowed me to choose what Benny got for a death. I needed the death to be satisfying, but I also feel like I deserved it. I chopped off the bastard's head and presented it as a victory.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I returned back to the house in order to give him the platinum chip, and went on my way in order to meet more of the clans. During my adventure, I met a group of misfits in the NCR, who complied with my word, and I found another NCR camp where I was able to practice my non-existent medical license. Later, I sought refuge towards a boomer outpost at an airfield, where I was mercilessly bombarded by artillery. Once I got inside, I experienced some pleasant hospitality from the boomers.
Keep that thing under control, I will.
And I shared some of my own hospitality. Shut the fuck up, boomer. At my time at the airfield, I cleared an ant nest, restarted their generators, and fixed their solar panels. Now, with their trust, they sent me off my way to retrieve a B-29 bomber from the bottom of a lake. I helped them design a rebreather for me with my scientific know-how, and I proceeded towards Lake Mead. The bomber was pretty easy to fetch with the rebreather, and I completed the quest quite easily. Next on the list of people to meet was a Brotherhood of Shit, since they despise technology. I don't know why they're so afraid of technology, but I found them at Bunker Hill. Once inside, I greeted them with bullets, finished everyone off in the room, and looted their corpses for extra caps. Making quick stops to random places to sell my loot, I eventually returned back to the Brotherhood of Shit hideout and committed genocide to any Brotherhood of Shit member who stood in my way. I was taught a quick lesson on fusion being relatively simple,
Principles of fusion are relatively
and I continued my way throughout the bunker. Once everyone was dead, I looted even more of their bodies, and set the bunker to self-destruct. Yeah, why not? I totally and legitimately fast-traveled in order to sell more loot, and I declare that the Brotherhood of Shit is off the list.
Thank you very much.
Last on the killing floor is the Omertas at the Gomorrah Casino. The people there were exceptionally rude, but I bared with it for the prospect of some caps. Trying to meet with the boss, I had a few scuffles with the residents. That's what I fucking thought, bitch, but I safely made my way to the boss. The Mafia boss disappointed me with a small amount of caps, so I did what I usually do best, and that's to ask for a raise diplomatically. Oh, he fucked up. In order to get Yes Man into control, I infiltrated the house, killed its owner, and afterwards, I told the info to Yes Man, where he proceeded to have a stroke. For some reason, the president was coming by, so I saved his life by snagging a bomb off his helicopter. That was close.
Come back in a minute. I'm busy with security matters. Come back.
I found a fucking bomb! One of the agents said, "Get down, Mr. President," and proceeded to have a trademarked Jimmy Neutron brain blast. Free loot, I guess. When the president's speech was all said and done, Yes Man told me to give him some more Jamba Juice from the nearby reactors, which I did, and began the finale. Raiding Hoover Dam was pretty simple for the most part, but I stashed an M60 for a little flashback to more interesting times. The B-29 bomber, although not a helicopter blasting fortune inside, but still gave a similar effect.
Oh, shit.
I installed Yes Man into the dam's network and turned up the power. From there, I traversed into the Renaissance Fair campsite nearby Hoover Dam, and I speech 100 the fuck out of Legate Lanius. When that was over, Lee Harvey Oswald decided to give me a nice, heartfelt speech. I responded to this speech by telling Yes Man to throw him off of Hoover Dam.
What the hell? No, get away from me, you goddamn TV on wheels.
Throw him off! Yeah! What a sight. And with that, I finished Fallout New Vegas, and was reminded that
Because
war never changes.
Never changes.
Now, although I did enjoy the time I was playing Fallout New Vegas, with the immersive environment and voice acting, I felt as though there was more to be had. I understand that Obsidian Entertainment only had about 18 months to develop Fallout New Vegas, and because of that, I give them massive applause for them being able to create something so extraordinary in that amount of time. If Obsidian had more time to develop Fallout New Vegas without publisher constraints, it would have stood much higher in the stars than it currently is. But now, at this moment in time, I can't help but see the age that this game has taken on compared to the other games we have now. Currently, Obsidian is working on Outer Worlds. I hope that the hype surrounding it is well worth it, and that it's not just another game company abusing brand allegiance. I have high hopes for Outer Worlds, and I hope it doesn't disappoint.